She left her village to study abroad, but everything about her life changed. Her name was Chioma, and in the dusty red earth village of Oghara in Delta State, Nigeria, she was everyone's brightest hope. At 19, she had never seen snow, never ridden an escalator, never even left the state. But her teachers called her the one who will save us all. Her father, a fisherman who barely made ends meet casting nets into the Niger River, sold the family's only plot of cassava farmland. Her mother borrowed from every relative and the village chief to buy the plane ticket and the first year's fees. The entire village gathered under the mango trees the night before she left, drums beating, women singing, children dancing in the dust. Chioma stood in her best Ankara wrapper, tears mixing with the powder on her face, and promised her 8-year-old sister, "When I become a nurse in the UK, I will build a hospital right here. No more children dying from malaria, no more mothers suffering in the dark." She hugged her mother so tight the wrapper nearly tore. Her father whispered, voice cracking, "Go and shine, my daughter. Make us proud." Then she climbed into the old bus to Lagos, waving until the village disappeared behind the palm trees. The plane ride was her first time in the sky. She pressed her face to the tiny window, heart pounding with dreams. When she landed at Manchester Airport in the dead of winter, the cold hit her like a slap. Snow was falling. She had only seen it in pictures. Her thin coat from the local market did nothing against the wind. A Nigerian uncle who had promised to pick her up never showed. She dragged her worn suitcase through immigration, teeth chattering, whispering to herself, "Chioma, you are here for a reason." The first months were pure survival. Her student room in a damp basement flat smelled of mold. Lectures were in a language that felt like it was moving too fast. She worked night shifts at an old people's home, wiping bodies and emptying bedpans while memorizing anatomy books under the fluorescent lights. Every penny she earned she sent home so her sister could stay in school. Video calls with her family were the only light, her mother's proud smile, her father asking, "How is the Queen's country treating you?" She always lied and said, "It is fine, Daddy. I am learning so much." By the end of her first year, Chioma had topped her class in nursing. The university gave her a small scholarship. She bought her first proper winter boots and started feeling like maybe, just maybe, the dream was real. That was when she met David. He was British-Nigerian, tall, smooth-talking, driving a black Range Rover that smelled of new leather. He was in his final year of business, son of a wealthy London family with properties everywhere. They met at the African Student Society Cultural Night. He danced with her to high-life music, made her laugh until her stomach hurt, and for the first time since leaving Oghara, Chioma felt seen, not as the village girl who had to prove herself, but as a woman who was beautiful and wanted. He took her to restaurants where the bill was more than her monthly rent. He bought her a proper winter coat and took her to London for weekends. He cooked jollof rice better than her mother and whispered promises. "You don't have to struggle anymore, Chioma. I've got you." She started skipping the night shifts. Her grades stayed high, but her heart was somewhere else. When her mother asked on a call, "Who is this boy you keep smiling about?" Chioma laughed it off. "Just a friend, Mummy." Then came the night everything truly shattered. She was 2 months pregnant. The test lay on the bathroom sink like a bomb. David's face when she told him went from shock to ice in seconds. "Abort it," he said flatly. "I'm not ready. My family will kill me." When she cried and said she couldn't, he disappeared for 3 weeks. No calls, no messages. Her phone stayed silent while she threw up every morning before lectures. She hid the pregnancy from home. She kept working. She kept studying. But the cracks were widening. Strange things started happening around her. Other African girls in her department were suddenly dropping out or acting terrified. One of them, her only close friend Fatima from Kenya, pulled her aside one night and whispered, "Chioma, something is wrong with Professor Adeyemi. He offers special help to international students, extra money, housing, but only if you sign papers you don't understand. Some girls say he and David are connected." Chioma didn't want to believe it, until the day she borrowed David's laptop to check her emails and found the folder. It was all there. Emails between David and Professor Adeyemi. Visa fraud. Blackmail. A ring targeting lonely African girls, offering fake documents, money, love, then trapping them so they could never speak. Over 50 girls. Some had already been deported. Some had disappeared. And now they wanted Chioma to recruit more. When David finally came back, he wasn't the same man. He smiled, but his eyes were cold. "Do the abortion tomorrow. Then you help us, or I make one phone call to your village and tell them everything. The pregnancy. The money you've been sending home from special jobs. Your father will have a heart attack." Chioma ran. She ran with nothing but the clothes on her back and the baby growing inside her. The scholarship was revoked the next day. Threats started coming to her phone, photos of her mother's house in Oghara, a voice saying, "We know where your sister goes to school." She lost the baby at 12 weeks from the stress, alone in a hospital corridor, with no one holding her hand. The nurses spoke in soft English. She barely understood. She slept in a women's shelter for 3 nights, staring at the ceiling, remembering the mango trees and the promise she had made under them. Rock bottom tasted like dust and betrayal. But Chioma was still the girl from Oghara, the one who studied by kerosene lamp, the one who carried water on her head for kilometers. So she did what village girls do when the world tries to break them. She fought. With Fatima's help, she recorded every conversation. She copied every email. She walked into a small newspaper office in Manchester with shaking hands and said, "My name is Chioma from Delta State, and I have a story that will burn this place down." The scandal exploded. Front page news. Professor Adeyemi arrested. David taken away in handcuffs. The Nigerian embassy got involved. Dozens of girls came forward. Compensation money started coming in small at first, then life-changing. 2 years later, a different Chioma stepped off the plane in Lagos. She was not yet a qualified nurse, but she had finished her degree online through sheer will. She carried a folder of documents and a heart full of fire. When the bus finally reached Oghara, the whole village was waiting again. This time not with drums of celebration, but with tears of worry turned to joy. Her mother ran to her first, screaming her name. Her father stood tall, chest puffed with pride he could no longer hide. Her little sister, now 10, held a hand-drawn sign, "Welcome home, Nurse Chioma." She didn't build the hospital that day, but she used every kobo of the compensation and the GoFundMe started by Nigerians abroad to open something better, Chioma's Future Center, a place where village girls could study online, get real scholarships, and be protected before they ever left for abroad. The sign was painted by hand. The first 10 girls started classes under the same mango trees where she once made her promise. On the day the center opened, Chioma stood where the send-off party had been years before, the same dust under her feet, the same wind in her wrapper. She looked at the crowd, her mother crying happy tears, her father nodding like a king, and she smiled the smile of someone who had lost everything and still won. She left her village to study abroad, but everything about her life changed. And in the end, the village was saved by the girl who came back broken but unbreakable. If Chioma's story touched you, hit the like button if you believe every village girl deserves a safe future. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss the next true story of resilience. Comment below, would you have fought back like Chioma, or what would you have done differently?